So this is Rena Malik. I am subscribed to her, and again, as I said earlier, I like watching some of her videos. A lot of her videos are geared towards helping out men with health and things like that. But once in a while, she'll throw in shit like this. That it's not shit, but she'll throw in stuff like this about, hey, this is about a cheating test and whatever. What causes cheating? Why do people feel like people are cheating? What constitutes cheating? Things like that. And uh, over the years, I think cheating has been redefined, okay, with the age of the internet now, okay? So before the internet, cheating was if you're in a relationship, whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, you're engaged, husband and wife, there's no such thing as partner, okay? It's husband and wife, fiance, or boyfriend and girlfriend. That partner shit don't fly, okay? And you go and you spend an evening, let's say you're a girl and you're committed to a guy, or vice versa. We'll take a guy, just so I'm not misogynistic here. A guy's in a 2 year relationship with a girl. They're very serious, but he decides to go out on a Friday night with a girl that's a friend of his that she doesn't know about. And they go watch a movie, have dinner. They're gone for like 4.5 hours. She doesn't answer his phone. You know what I mean? Well, back then, before the internet, we didn't have cell phones. So, the girlfriend's at home. She can't get a hold of him. She's calling the house. She's freaking out. She's worried. He gets home. He's like, oh, it's fucking 11:30. I'm going to go to bed. I can't call her this late. She's probably sleeping. The next day, they talk, and then he tells her what he did, and she flips the fuck out. That's cheating. You're cheating on your girlfriend, man. It doesn't have to be intercourse. It's cheating. Holding another girl's hand, cheating. Sending each other photos, cheating. Yeah. Today, the generations are okay with all this because what do we have? All these girls are on OnlyFans and they're just showing every guy on the fucking planet what their body looks like and doing some weird shit with it. That's okay. And then you got the cucks who are married to or are going out with these girls that do it, and they sit there in the corner like a good little cuck and watch it happen because, well, they make a lot of money. But anyway, so this is going to be about the $5 cheating test. Here we go.
What if I told you that some people think holding hands with someone outside of your relationship is worse than sending naked photos? And some people feel like
It's
an
not.
emotional affair is much worse than a physical one. And these gray areas can make or break your relationship, especially if there's infidelity. I'm Dr. Rena Malik, urologist and pelvic surgeon, and today we're talking about sexual, emotional, and physical behaviors to look at which ones people actually consider cheating. Well, why does this even matter? Well, we often assume that everyone has the same definition of cheating, and it seems preposterous to us when our partners or friends do actions that we consider as cheating, but they actually don't think is a big deal. Ultimately, these differences in perception of what is cheating can destroy relationships when partners have
The guy was like, what?
very different boundaries that they've never talked about. And mostly everyone agrees that obviously sexual intercourse with someone else is cheating. But there's far less agreement on more ambiguous behaviors like holding hands, sharing secrets, or going to dinner alone with someone of the opposite sex. Now, these gray areas are where most relationship conflicts actually happen. And as someone who works primarily with a lot of men, I can imagine how this could lead to a lot of conflicts if you don't talk about this with your partner. But before I explain the science, since you're our
Okay, again, there's no fucking partners. I'm not yelling at her, but I hate this fucking term. A partner is somebody that you work with at a business, okay? You own a company. That's what a partner is, okay? Or you're part of a larger company. It's husband, wife, fiance, boyfriend, girlfriend. Stop with the partner shit. It makes no fucking sense, and nobody gives a shit that you want to use that term, okay? It means nothing.
already here, investing time in learning about improving your relationships, why not grab my free guide that covers the top 10 things that actually enhance pleasure, backed by science, at www.renamalikmd.com/morepleasure.
What if I told you this dish was actually healthy? Let's be real. Factor's menu is way healthier than the competition. Their chefs.
Back to the science. So, to figure out what people generally think of cheating as, a team of researchers from the University of Michigan and a bunch of other institutions studied this exact question. They surveyed 456 college students, about 67% were women, and on average they were 19 years old.
There's your first fucking problem, okay? Actually, your first, second, and your third fucking problem, okay? One, you had to get a team of researchers to do this shit, right? Just put a poll up somewhere and direct the poll to people and have them come fucking answer it. You know what I mean? A multiple poll, okay? You don't need to hire a bunch of fucking people and spend all this fucking money to do a survey like this, okay? Second, you went to this generation. This is the generation that uses OnlyFans and Instagram, and all they do is show off their bodies. And most of them are not even in a fucking relationship. Third, you polled 60% of them were women. It needs to be more 50-50. So if you have 67% of the people that you asked are women, you're obviously going to get a skewed response out of this, okay? Maybe I'm wrong, but 67 versus 33, it's going to be a little unbalanced. It's stupid.
And they looked at 27 different behaviors to see whether these constituted cheating in a long-term relationship. In the study, the researchers created this list of 27 behaviors which span a number of different categories. Things like sexual behaviors, which include intercourse or oral sex, erotic behaviors like texting sexual messages or watching porn together, relationship status behaviors, sort of like holding hands or kissing, emotional bonding, like forming deep connections or sharing secrets, financial support, such as giving someone even $5 to support them financially, and social interactions like brief hugs or taking road trips together. Now, each participant rated every behavior on a scale from 0 to 100%, meaning that 0 was like there's no cheating and 100% is definitely cheating if it was done with someone of the opposite sex other than their partner. But here's what makes this study really interesting. They also measured two key personality traits: attachment anxiety and attachment avoidance. Attachment anxiety is essentially a fear of abandonment. Like these people are constantly worrying about losing their partner. Whereas attachment avoidance is sort of the opposite. These people tend to keep a real emotional distance and avoid intimacy. I talked all about these sort of attachment styles with Jessica Baum on the podcast very recently, and it was so fascinating to see how these actually play out in relationships. So if you want to learn more about these attachment styles, check out that podcast with Jessica Baum. So in the study,
I don't, because it's between two women. You get a guy and a woman talking about it, then I might watch it.
Researchers looked at validated psychological scales to identify and measure the presence of these traits. And then they tried to analyze basically how gender and attachment style influenced how they perceived these behaviors as cheating. So in terms of the results, some of these are really going to surprise you, because they definitely surprised me. First, the obvious stuff that everyone mostly agrees on. Sexual behaviors like intercourse, oral sex, showering together, these were rated as cheating by 96 to 98%.
No shit.
But here's where it gets interesting.
So 96 to 98%. So there were some people who didn't feel like that was cheating. It's a very small number, but there are some people out there who don't think that's cheating. Guess what they're doing? They're cheating.
Erotic behaviors that don't necessarily involve direct physical contact, like texting sexual messages or emailing naked photos, were still highly rated as cheating, but not ubiquitous. It was about 75 to 88%. Now,
that means people are cheating. If you don't find that inappropriate in a relationship, there's something wrong with you. Like, seriously.
The next thing I'm going to tell you actually contradicted what researchers thought they would find. Women actually rated sexual and erotic behaviors as more indicative of cheating than men did, not less. And this goes...
Of course. Again, because you surveyed 67% of the men. So I want you to break that down. I'm sorry. 67% of the people you surveyed were women. So you're going to get more yeses than from the guys. So how about you break that down? The number of what the numbers were from the women and the numbers were for the men, and let's kind of balance that out, right? And figure out how many men out of those 33% said, yeah, it's bad. You see what I'm saying?
Against the thought that like women only care about emotional affairs, and traditional evolutionary psychology, which predicts that men would be more sensitive to sexual infidelity. Now, women also gave significantly higher cheating ratings to 10 different behaviors, and that included texting erotic messages,
Okay.
emailing naked pictures,
Yeah.
watching pornographic movies,
Yeah.
holding hands, forming
Yeah.
deep emotional bonds, which
Yeah.
most people think that this is what women care about. And the only behavior that men rated higher was giving someone $5. Yeah, you heard that right. Men were more likely than women to see giving someone $5 as cheating. Now, this was obviously a
I gotta see this data. Look, I'm a guy, and I have a lot of friends, okay? More male friends than female. And I don't fucking believe that for a fucking second. I have probably 10, 15 male friends. I could go pull their fucking asses right now without any alcohol involved. And I guarantee you the answers would be almost 100% on everything else, plus the $5. Like, $5, that's not a big deal to me. I wouldn't care if my wife let somebody borrow $5 at work for lunch or something. I don't give a shit. As long as she didn't suck them off. You know what I mean? She just handed him a $5 bill for lunch. Like, okay, she's helping a coworker out. But everything else, no. That's a problem, man.
minor financial support item, but it's still really interesting. And the psychology gets
Bullshit.
even more interesting when you look at attachment styles. People who had higher attachment anxiety, those who were afraid of abandonment, rated 18 out of 27 behaviors more indicative of cheating, meaning that they're really nervous and hypervigilant, so they think that these are all potential threats to their relationship. Whereas people who had attachment
Because they're in a generation that pretty much is all about cheating. Like, a lot of the people in that generation that you surveyed, they barely make it a year in a relationship. I would love to see the statistics on that. So the people that you surveyed, you should have asked them, what's your longest relationship? Right? I want to see about that.
attachment avoidance, those who kept emotional distance showed the opposite pattern. They actually rated those sexual and erotic behaviors as less indicative of cheating. And this might be because those people are more likely to actually do those behaviors themselves when they're in relationships because they're avoiding sort of intimacy. And how intense the behavior was actually affected how likely someone called it cheating. For example, kissing on the lips was seen as more serious than kissing on the cheek. Giving someone $500
Okay, a kiss regardless.
was rated much higher rather than giving someone $5. And hugging for more than 10 seconds was more serious than a brief hug. And sleeping in the same bed was worse than just staying in the same hotel room. And researchers
Okay, both are bad.
call this like the signal strength effect. Basically, the stronger the signal of a romantic or sexual interest, the more likely people were to call it cheating.
So the craziest thing happened to me today. I got a psychic reading. I know. So when I was presented with the opportunity to have a reading done by the team at California Psychics,
Yeah,
Finally,
that's great.
when they analyzed all the data, they came up with 3 clear categories. Obviously, sexual and erotic interactions. These were about 93% likely to be called cheating.
Again, the problem is that there's a 7% difference there. Those 7% people are cheating and think it's okay.
And that was, again, intercourse to sexting, and both men and women rated these highly, although women rated them slightly higher. The next was close relationship behaviors, and this was 42% on the cheating scale. This included things like holding hands, going to dinner, sharing secrets, and providing financial support. And this is the gray area where most relationship conflicts happen. And
It should be a lot higher than 42%, honestly. And I'm sorry, women are more promiscuous than men are in this day and age. Because all you see today is women complaining about why aren't men dating? Or, why aren't men dating? Or, how come these guys don't leave their house? Why are there no men on dating apps anymore? Because they don't want nothing to do with you, man. Because you're promiscuous. You fuck around. You have to have 15 guy friends. When you have more guy friends than girlfriends, there's a problem there. You're not dateable. Same thing for a guy. If you got more girlfriends than guy friends, that dude's not dateable, man. He's going to fuck around on you. All right? And I'm speaking from both sides here. He is going to fuck around on you. I'm just saying. And if you deny that,
Not
you're an idiot.
surprisingly, right? I can see how somebody could think that this is just a normal friendship, and others would find this as being too close. And specifically, if you're with a partner who has attachment anxiety, they were more likely to rate close relationship behaviors much higher as cheating, and where more secure people saw this as normal friendship. And casual social interactions, only 11% of people thought this was cheating. So this
I mean, a brief hug is okay. But when you're grabbing each other's ass and shit like that, like if it's a big, like that, how you doing? It's been a long time. You know, that's okay. But if you're going in for a trilogy and you got your hands are full of something, a little different.
hugs, telling jokes, calling about work problems, the large majority of people don't see them as cheating. So
No, they're not. Like the telling jokes, I mean, unless they're really fucking disgusting sexual jokes, that's a fucking problem, especially if the person's married, right? Calling someone of the opposite sex about a work problem, if you work together, there's no problem. But if you've never worked together and, you know, like you're calling this guy and talking to him for 4 fucking hours on a Friday when the husband's taking care of the kids and making dinner and shit, and you're on the phone chatting with some guy outside while you're smoking a Virginia Slim, that's a fucking problem, right? Text the motherfucker. You got a family inside.
what does this mean for you and your relationships? First, guys, have the conversation. Don't assume
Oh my God, that word, partner.
your partner shares what you think is cheating. And the ratings for cheating range anywhere from 9% to 98% depending on the behavior, which shows really there's a huge variation. And something that might seem really innocent to you might feel like a betrayal to your partner. Second, try to understand your and your partner's attachment style. If you are constantly worried about your partner's friendships or casual interactions, it might not be that you're controlling, you may have higher attachment anxiety.
And this should all be established in the first couple dates. Okay, if you ask enough probing questions in your first few dates, you should know this right away whether you need to dip or take a trip. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. And dip is good and trip is, you got to go, right? I'm out of here, right? You can figure a lot of things out just by asking casual questions, because, especially if you're a guy. A guy will ask a question and a woman will ramble on for fucking 5 hours about her favorite color, okay? A girl, you got to work a little harder with a guy because a lot of guys are closed the fuck off, okay? They're closed off. And I wish you could just on the first or second date, how many bodies? Oh, like 35. And she's 21. I would be like, all right, play it off, have a good conversation, make some jokes, finish dinner, fucking delete her phone number, bro. Never talk to her again. Same thing for a woman and a guy. If a guy's had that many, I'm out of here. Now, it's not a question you want to ask on a first date, but by the 5th date, if you haven't figured out whether or not you're probably going to have concerns down the road with this person, then you're not picking up on any fucking signs, and you're just in this relationship for sex, okay? And that's all it is, man. So you got to figure this out right away. Now, I'm no fucking expert. I'm just saying, I've lived long enough and been in enough relationships and on dates and shit to know that there are signals, bro. Like, you sit down, she's got 3 nose rings, that's a no. That is a checkbox checked. You're out of here. She's got tattoos all over the fucking place. Out of here. She got the gauge earrings. Out of here. Is your hair dyed a rainbow color? Out of here. It's a trip. If you start rambling on about your exes and your past relationships, out of here. You're done. There's a lot more, but we don't have that kind of time.
So it's important to realize it and be able to communicate about it rather than allowing it to create conflict. And lastly, consider how strong the signal is. You know, obviously the context and intensity matter enormously. A work dinner is very different from having a romantic dinner one-to-one. And a quick hug is different from a very long embrace. And
so with the work dinner shit, I've had many a times where in my career, I've had to go and help open up a new facility, right? So it could be far away, and sometimes you bring some of your employees with you. And any husband or wife would probably be like, "Where are you gonna be staying?" Okay, well, they got us a hotel room, and it's gonna be separate. They would never pair up a man with a woman. It would never happen, unless you're the CEO. Just that was a little shot, right? Um, and you do your work during the day. You come back to the hotel. If you have a good working relationship with this person, it could be your subordinate, a peer, your supervisor. There's nothing wrong with hanging out at the fire pit, drinking a couple beers, talking shit about the company. You know what I mean? That's okay. But when it's like, well, let's take it back to the hotel room with the beers and talk about it, that's crossing the line, bro. You know what I mean? Because any good person in a relationship will not spend several hours out there. And if they have a wife, a fiance, girlfriend, boyfriend, husband, whatever at home, they're going to want to go talk to them privately before they go to bed. So they'll spend an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours, whatever. Maybe text the person they're with while they're out there having a beer. And then you go to fuck upstairs and you have a call with your fucking wife, husband, fiance, girlfriend, boyfriend. No fucking partners. No partners. But I get what they're saying. I'm okay with the work thing. But yeah, it's all about trust. It's about trust in those things, though. You know what I mean?
And lastly, recognize that there are obviously gender patterns.
I mean, I've been in those situations where that's where I was going. Is like I've had to go to like I live in the Philadelphia area, and I had to go to Harrisburg, PA, and also York, Pennsylvania, to help open some locations. And they put us up at Marriott Suite hotels, and I took my best assistant with me, and because we had to take one manager with us, so I brought her with me. Um, Nothing happened. I loved her to death. I consider her to this day a great friend of mine. A great friend. Once in a while, and she's married with 2 kids. Once in a blue moon, maybe 3, 4 times a year, she'll text me with a problem because I helped get her promoted to a store leader. So she'll text me once in a while on how to handle something. And that's a business conversation. That's it. That's all it is. And she'll call me. She'll text me. But we keep it brief. But at the hotel, it was just like we would come back. And we never sat out by the fire pit by ourselves, okay? It was usually like 4 or 5 of us. If it got down to 3 people, that's the general rule of thumb, okay? When you have a group outside drinking by a fire pit or wherever, and that party gets down to 3, it's time to go. It's time to make that move to the car and get the fuck out of there because you don't want it to get down to 2. You don't. Because if the 3rd or 4th person that left before you and the last person, they're like, on the way back to the hotel, they're like, those 2 are there by themselves and they've been drinking a lot. I wonder. That's how rumors start. You know what I mean? Now, I'm very professional, bro. Like, that shit never happened to me. And I keep that rule of thumb. When it gets down to 3, it ain't about me. I'm out of here. I'll be the first one to go. You know what I mean? As soon as number 4 is walking out the door, have a good night. All right. Well, yeah. All right. Look at the time. Yep. It's time to go. Hey, guys, have a good night. And then the other ones know. They'll get the fuck up, too, and start getting their purse and their keys and their cell phone and shit. Nobody wants to be the last 2 people. So just remember that.
Guys, this is not new to you. Women in the study were more likely to identify various behaviors as cheating, not just emotional ones. Now, a little caveat, this study looked at American college students who were on average 19 years old. The results might have been different if they looked at older adults.
Exactly, you idiot. I don't want to be ignorant to her. I think she's extremely intelligent. She talks very well, and she explains things very well. So I really respect her for someone I don't even know. But you polled 19-year-olds. 19-year-olds. How about you throw in some 30-year-olds, 40, 50, 60, 70-year-olds? I bet you that fucking response will be like a fucking ocean wave during a hurricane. It'd be like this. I guarantee you.
Or those who are actually in long-term marriages or people with different cultural backgrounds. But the bottom line is cheating isn't black and white. It is sort of on a...
It is. It's black and white. It's every color of the fucking rainbow.
Continuum, and where you draw the line depends on your gender, your attachment style.
It does not.
Your personal experiences and behaviors that might seem obviously.
Personal experiences play a huge role, but it does not. I wouldn't think gender has anything to do with it because there's only two genders now. Remember, right? Man and woman. That's it. A man can't be a woman can't be a man. Okay, all right, we're all clear on that. Cool, great. A guy isn't more jealous than a girl, right? It's just knowing what's right and what's wrong, and it's a matter of respect. It's a matter of respect for the other individual. If you're committing to someone, then be fucking committed. If you can't commit, then you probably need to just fucking break the hell up. Get divorced. Whatever.
Innocent to you, might actually feel threatening to your partner. And it's not necessarily your fault or their fault. It's just that you have to have the conversation. So talk to your partner, figure out like what is infidelity.
Communication is huge. It's a huge part, but also trust. And a little thing called integrity. Okay?
Or maybe go through these 27 behaviors and figure out which of them are sort of red flags to your partner. And if you care about your relationship and your sex life, make sure to subscribe.
Don't say it.
You'll learn everything you need to know about your body, sex life, relationships, and health right here on my channel.
Don't say partner. I would have fucking broke this fucking mouse if she said partner one more time. But again, very, very good video. That is Rena Malik, M.D. Very good. She's been around for several years. And her next video, I know you see what's on the screen. Her other video is anal sex in women, right? Surprising reasons why women engage in anal sex. That's great. So she talks about a lot of stuff, okay? And apparently YouTube allows it. So I guess it's not against TOS or anything like that. So cool. That was a good video. Check her channel out. Head on over. Give her a subscribe. And check out some of her videos. She does a very good job with making these videos. She's got over 4 million subscribers. So she does pretty good. All right, I'm going to grab one more smoke. We got 2 more things to cover. And then we'll be out of here. So hopefully by, at the latest, maybe 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. But I'll be right back. Grab another smoke. Check, make sure my pipes aren't frozen. So remember, if you're living in an area that just went through all this bad weather, when you go to bed tonight, let the water trickle in one of the sinks in your house to keep the water moving in your pipes. Otherwise, the water is going to freeze. And when you go to run it in the morning, it could burst your pipe. And that's an expensive thing to do. Okay? Be right back.